countdown begins by moving the rocket from
Alright,
the vertical integration
here's
facility
guys, it is
or VIF
Liam,
to the pad.
and
To
today
complete
we're
this
going to be
move, which
seeing
spans about 1/3 of a
the
mile,
Atlas
the rocket is
V
transported by the MLP.
launch 2 satellites.
Weighing in at approximately 2 million pounds, the MLP supports the rocket and contains air conditioning, electrical, and commodities lines. Throughout the 20-minute trip, rail cars lead the move, with the payload van providing spacecraft communication and the ground van providing support for the rocket. At the rear of the convoy is an environmental control system, which provides air conditioning to the payload and the rocket. Trackmobiles power the nearly 3 million pound convoy.
Sure am.
With the rocket on the pad, the launch team then transitions to fueling and other final preparations.
Atlas V will deliver SES-20 and 21 to a near geosynchronous orbit. Here's how we'll get there.
Generating a combined liftoff thrust of nearly 1.8 million pounds, the RD-180 engine and 3 solid rocket boosters ignite to start ULA's Atlas V rocket on its trip to orbit. Shortly after liftoff, the 1.7 million pound Atlas begins a pitchover to attain the proper flight path while minimizing the dynamic pressure the rocket experiences during flight. Within the first minute of flight, Atlas reaches Mach 1, the speed of sound. Within the next 2 minutes of first stage flight, the Atlas V rocket will jettison all 3 GEM 63 solid rocket boosters and will then more than double its velocity.
So those things that just flew off are gonna create like the huge exhaust plume that you see when the rocket takes off.
Fighting against the force of gravity.
And here are the 2 satellites right
followed by
here.
release of the booster stage. The rocket now weighs a little more than 10% of what it did at liftoff. To deliver the twin SES-20 and SES-21 satellites to near geosynchronous orbit, Centaur will perform 3 engines.
Yeah, so these
fueled by liquid hydrogen.
So the Atlas V is going to be launching 2 SES satellites.
Following the first main engine
SES-20 and SES-21. So
second burn attitude.
Like the satellite. So here, let me tell you a little bit about the satellite. So these 2 satellites are made by a company called SES. Or, no, they're owned by a company called SES, but they were made by a company called Boeing. They make like Boeing makes but Boeing makes like airplanes and stuff. You may have flown on the plane. But usually like
utilizing all onboard propellant reserves to achieve the final orbit. This capability allows Centaur to extract every ounce of performance available.
Yeah, so
more than 5.5 hours after liftoff, Centaur releases SES-20, followed nearly 40 minutes later by the release of SES-21.
Yes,
for their delivery to near geosynchronous orbit, both satellites will require only minimal raising to their final orbital position and rapid activation of commercial broadcast services.
With today's launch, we're remembering teammates who are no longer with us. Let's learn more.
Yeah, so the
Today's flight is dedicated in memory of Henry Gines and James W. McAnally. For 7 years, Henry Gines served in the Navy as a systems organizational tech and earned the Sea Deployment Ribbon with a Bronze Star for good conduct. Henry then joined McDonnell Douglas's Tycho missile plant in 1987, where he proudly continued his work in national defense by helping with the assembly of Tomahawk cruise missiles, and later, the very successful ACES-2 ejection seat program. Henry later moved on to supporting missions on Delta and Atlas rockets as an accomplished mechanical technician. Outside of work, Henry was passionate about sports, spending his time coaching softball and football teams of all ages. Henry was loyal, dedicated, and always joined his team with a great attitude. He will continue to be missed by his friends and family and his co-workers. Jim McAnally served as president of Martin Marietta Astronautics and later Lockheed Martin during the acquisition of the Atlas and Titan Centaur programs from General Dynamics. Under Jim's leadership,
one of my uncles, I think, worked for Lockheed Martin. I don't know if he still does.
International Launch Services was created to sell commercial Atlas rockets. The Atlas V was developed, and his team successfully negotiated the first RD-180 engine. Jim put his heart and soul into his work, and his legacy lives on in today's Atlas V.
Yeah,
We
rip.
remain in the planned 30-minute hold as we continue towards liftoff. In a few moments, launch conductor Ron McKee will poll the launch team for the final go to pick up the count. 20 engineers and managers are polled
So,
for system status.
I'm also gonna do another live stream at around
for all Atlas vehicle systems,
7 o'clock, like 7, around 7:30ish, or like 7:40ish.
The vehicle system readiness poll includes electrical systems,
Because
hydraulics, pneumatics, propulsion systems,
a
flight
Falcon
control, and
9
propellants.
is supposed to launch tonight.
Let's listen in as Ron McKee performs the final polling.
Thing in the chat. Alright, so they're gonna start making sure that everything is good.
L-7 minutes.
Status check to proceed with terminal count. Atlas systems, propulsion. Go. Hydraulics. Go. Pneumatics. Go. LO2.
Go.
Water.
Go.
Centaur systems, propulsion.
Go.
Pneumatics.
Go.
LO2.
Go.
LH2.
Go.
Pass gas.
Go.
Electrical systems, airborne.
Go.
Ground. Go. Facility.
Go.
RFFTS.
Go.
Flight control.
Go.
GCQ.
Go.
Operation support.
Go.
COM. Umbilicals.
Go.
ECS.
Go.
Red light monitor.
Go.
Quality.
Go.
Op safety manager.
Go.
ULA safety officer.
Go.
Vehicle system engineer.
Go.
Anomaly chief.
Go.
Range coordinator.
Clear to proceed.
Launch director.
You have permission to launch.
Alright,
Proceeding with the count. ALC
you have permission to
verified
launch.
Set for 21:360.
Verified.
Polling is complete. The ULA launch team is go for launch.
Alright, we'll go for launch,
T-minus
guys.
4 minutes until launch. You'll be listening to Ron McKee and his team performing the final steps in the countdown procedure. Several critical activities occur in the final minutes before launch, including verifying fuel tank and pressure levels in both the Atlas booster and Centaur upper stage.
Wait,
Also
is my
armed with the flight
thumbnails
termination
on the
system.
step? Wait, is
At
my...
T-minus 25 seconds, you'll hear Go Atlas, Go Centaur, Go SES.
Oh
This is
shoot,
the
I think
final
my
status
thumbnail
check
is
of
on
Atlas, Centaur,
Roblox
and SES
live stream.
readiness. At T-minus 3 seconds, the main engine ignites, followed by ignition of the solid rocket boosters. Then, after seeing Atlas 5 lift off the launch pad, you'll begin hearing the flight commentator Jesse Gonzalez providing launch vehicle ascent data.
Edit. Oh shoot, hang on. Change this. No, change it to that. There we go. Oh, and guys, make sure to subscribe because I'm almost at 200 subs.
We anticipate releasing the hold in just a few moments.
Alright, so...
Mark of the time will be T-minus 4 minutes and counting. 3, 2, 1, mark.
Alright, so now the clock is now running.
T-minus 3 minutes and 55 seconds.
Ground pyros enabled.
See, now the clock is counting down.
The countdown clock has resumed, and we are go for launch at 5:36 p.m.
go.
Eastern.
Go for launch.
Liftoff approaching. We're going to raise the volume on our launch team so you can hear the final preps taking place.
Alright. And guys, if you want to watch this live stream on ULA's channel, I have the link in the description. I also have it there so like this video doesn't get copyrighted and
T-minus
stuff.
3 minutes.
T-minus 3 minutes and counting. Op number 057.
Or live stream, I should say.
Securing LO2 topping. 250.
Atlas tanks to flight pressure.
FPS internal.
Check. Well, look at that. Drone.
$159. Vehicle internal. $155.
Launch sequencer start.
$150. Securing Centaur LH2.
Securing Centaur LO2.
$140.
Launch enabled.
$137. FPS armed.
T-minus 90 seconds. The launch vehicle, payload, ground systems, and eastern range are go for launch.
120. OCU's armed.
FCS count started.
115.
Reduce ECS for launch.
Alright.
110.
Then valves blocked.
Yeah, is it over
T-minus
1 minute?
T-minus 1 minute.
Is it just me or does the
Range
water
drain.
seem a little bit more like murkier than it was? Probably like it was like because like I saw a couple of phone because by the way I want to pray for the people who are in
40 seconds.
who are in Florida and just had a hurricane recently. Oh, we're about to launch. All right, here we go.
28.
Verify ECS reduced for launch.
Verified. 25.
Status check.
Go Atlas. Go Centaur.
Go SES.
All right, guys. Here we
T-minus
go.
10, 9, 8, 7, 6,
5,
4, 3,
Here we go. We have ignition and liftoff.
and liftoff of the United Launch Alliance Atlas V rocket, carrying SES 20 and 21
Nice.
for SES, the leading provider of
Look
global
at that.
content connectivity solutions.
Program.
Look at that.
After 15 seconds into flight, the U has gone to closed loop control.
Oh, look at that. Bet they have a good view.
Coming up on 30 seconds into flight. Already 180
Look,
is
so,
throttling back as expected.
These little boosters on the side are
You're hearing the voice of Jesse Gonzalez providing
causing
launch
the
vehicle ascent data.
exhaust
And
plume.
40 seconds into flight. Atlas 5 is now supersonic.
All those that white smoke and stuff.
And the vehicle is now passing through max Q, maximum dynamic pressure.
Look at that. Listen to that sound. Beautiful.
And the RD-180 is now throttling back up as expected. Engine response continues to look good. Passing a minute into flight, continuing to see good SRB chamber pressures. RD-180 pump speed and fuel injector pressures are responding well to demands on the engine. Vehicle is continuing right down the middle of the range track.
I got that from my dad. Wow.
And we have good burnout on all 3 SRBs. Standing by for SRB jettison in about 20
So they
seconds.
grind out. Here they're gonna fall away. Here they go. Whee!
And we have good jettison of all 3 SRBs. And the vehicle has gone to closed loop guidance. And the RD-180 is throttled down as expected. Engine response continues to look good. About 2 minutes remaining in the boost phase of flight.
Awesome.
The vehicle is now 45 miles in altitude, 70 miles downrange, traveling at 5,500 miles per hour.
That's fast. Really fast.
And passing 3 minutes into flight, the RD-180 is throttling down again as expected. Engine response continues to look good, and the RCS system is now pressurizing to flight levels. And about 1 minute remaining in the boost phase of flight.
Oh, there goes the fairings.
And we've had good indication of payload fairing jettison and Centaur forward load reactor jettison.
Yeah, so the fairings are the pointy end.
And the 180 is now throttling up as expected. Engine response continues to look good.
Yeah, whenever the
throttling to maintain a constant
look at this like
4.6G
huge
acceleration.
like whenever the on the Atlas 5 cameras, like whenever like the sun comes into view, there's like this huge lens flare. It's crazy.
Standing by for BECO shortly.
Just a line. Oh, look at that.
And we've had BECO, booster engine cutoff. And we've had Atlas Centaur separation. And seeing good pre-start on the RL-10. Standing by for MES-1 shortly. And we have ignition for the first burn of today's mission. This will be the first of 3 Centaur burns for today's mission. It will last a little over 7 minutes.
Look at that.
RL-10 operating parameters.
So what you're looking at right now is this right here is the
continues down the middle of the range
is
track,
the engine of the
20 miles an hour.
so this right here is
500 miles downrange
is the engine
about
of
13 miles per
the
hour.
of Centaur. It was like the little top piece. It was like the top part of the rocket, and this is what is going to get the satellites into orbit.
This is Atlas Mission Control at T plus 5 minutes 45 seconds. We just heard flight commentator Jesse Gonzalez confirm the successful completion of the early phase of today's flight, and all systems continue to operate nominally. Our next event, Centaur main engine cutoff, will occur in about 7 minutes. During this time, I have the pleasure of welcoming ULA's Commercial Program Director, Vernon Thorpe. Thanks for joining us, Vern.
Thanks, Ryan. It's a pleasure to be here.
Cool. So, we just lifted off on a long ascent to orbit. What should we expect to happen over the next 6 hours?
Okay, well, we just saw the initial booster ascent phase, so now what we're going to do is 3 Centaur burns to complete this mission. The first burn is happening right now, of course. That'll last about 7.5 minutes. When that is complete, we'll enter a 12-minute parking orbit coast, and then we'll have a second Centaur burn.
Now
that
we're on the
Centaur burn
animation.
will last about 5 minutes. And that will place us into a geosynchronous transfer orbit. So the highest point of that orbit will be up at geosynchronous altitude. So after 5 hours, when we're at the top of that elliptical orbit, we will do another Centaur burn. It'll be just over 2 minutes long, and that will essentially circularize the mission. And at that point, we'll be very close to a geosynchronous orbit. We'll take out most of the inclination during that burn as well, and we'll go from about 28 degrees down to about 1.9 degrees of inclination. Following that, we'll separate the satellites. We're going to separate the satellites 40 minutes apart, and that'll be centered around the T+6 hour mark, so one about 20 minutes before and 20 minutes after that.
Very nice. And why might a orbit matching Earth's rotation be necessary for these satellites, SES 20 and 21?
Well, that's the advantage of a geosynchronous orbit for many communication satellites. You know, at that altitude, the time that it takes to do one orbit of the Earth matches the time it takes for Earth to rotate once. So from the observer on the surface of the Earth, it looks like the satellite is stationary in the sky. So since you have that fixed relative position, that's very convenient when the satellite needs to provide continuous communication coverage to antennas on the Earth.
All right. So next question for you. Following separation from ULA Centaur, SES 20 and 21 will be operational fairly quickly. What more can you tell us about that?
Well, they'll be operational very quickly because of that near geosynchronous orbit that we're placing them into. Typical GTO type mission where the spacecraft has to do the orbit raising up to geosynchronous. For a satellite like this, for these two satellites, it would take about 5 to 6 months because they have electric propulsion systems, they're very low thrust systems, so it takes a long time to achieve the final orbit. With this mission today, we're going to put them almost exactly where they need to be for their final operational orbit, so it cuts out most of that orbit raising time, and it'll allow them to get both spacecraft, SES to get both spacecraft operational about 5 months earlier than if we had flown a traditional GTO mission profile.
Very nice. All right, so that leads to our Atlas rocket has quite a legacy of support to commercial satellite missions. Tell us a little more about some of the missions we've put in orbit.
Sure. So both Atlas and Delta, the rockets we fly at ULA, have been launching commercial satellites since the early 1960s. In fact, we launched what many consider to be the first true commercial communication satellite, and that was the Telstar mission that Delta launched in July of 1962. And that was such a big deal at the time that it actually inspired a hit song that year. It was recorded by the Tornadoes. That was 1962. After that, for the first few decades of our business, we launched a lot of commercial satellites, but our customers had to work through either NASA or the Air Force at the time. In the mid-1980s, that changed. There was the Commercial Space Act, and there was other legislation that allowed users to work directly with U.S. launch vehicle companies. And since that time, we've launched hundreds of missions, a lot of commercial missions, missions for NASA and the Air Force as well. But really, since the 1960s, Atlas and Delta have really helped lay the foundation for the entire commercial space industry. And Centaur was originally designed for high-energy, highly accurate interplanetary missions, but our commercial customers have taken advantage of its capabilities as well.
Very nice. I'll have to give Telstar, was it?
Telstar, yeah.
Telstar a listen. So commercial missions will be a big part of ULA's future. Can you give us a look ahead?
Yeah, since Atlas and Delta came together to form ULA in 2006, we've had about 15% of our missions have been commercial launches. That's going to ramp up to 50% over the next few years, and that will include geosynchronous communication satellites like we're launching today. It'll include commercial missions for NASA, crew, and cargo, and of course the Kuiper satellites for Amazon as well.
Yeah, Amazon is making their very own satellites.
Thank you for joining us today, Vern. Appreciate having you on.
Okay, my pleasure, Ryan. Thank you.
Which they're copying SpaceX. They're copying SpaceX's Starlink satellites.
This is Atlas Mission Control at T plus 11 minutes 33 seconds. We are now approaching the end of the first burn of the Centaur second stage. Let's listen in as we approach this next event.
And standing by for MECO shortly.
All right. So the engine is about to shut off,
And
there we go.
main engine cutoff.
Now the reason why it's so dark is because, like, in case you didn't know, the Centaur and the Centaur is now in the
RCS system is now commanding 100%.
In the area where the sun is not shining on the Earth, and like it's where like the Centaur is on the other side is on the other side of the Earth where the sun is not shining.
This is Atlas Mission Control at T plus 12 minutes 26 seconds. Jessica Gonzalez has reported successful cutoff of the first of 3 Centaur engine burns. The SES-20 satellite is scheduled to separate from ULA's Centaur upper stage into a new near geosynchronous orbit in about 6 hours, followed by SES-21. Once we sign off in a few moments, you can stay updated on today's long ascent to orbit with ULA's live blog at ulalaunch.com or join the conversation on Twitter and Facebook. I'd like to thank Jesse Gonzalez for his participation in today's show. I'm Ryan Gendoli. We'll take another look at liftoff, which occurred at 5:36 p.m. Thanks for joining us.
All right, so they're going to do a replay. Do that. There you go.
Is 10,
So this is
9,
the replay.
8, 7, 6, 5.
Yeah, the water looks a little
3, we have ignition.
murky, doesn't it?
1. And liftoff of the
Doesn't
United
it?
Launch
Looks like a
Alliance
little
Atlas
murky.
V rocket,
Look at
carrying
that.
SES-20 and 21 for SES, the leading provider of global content connectivity solutions.
Program. Passing 15 seconds into flight, EU has gone to closed loop control.
Awesome.
Coming up on 30 seconds into flight, RD-180 is throttled back as expected. Engine response looks good.
You're hearing the voice of Jesse Gonzalez.
All right. Well, that's it, guys. All right. I'm going to end the stream right here, guys. Make sure to like and subscribe, and I'll see you next time. Peace.